Alrighty, today we are going to take a peek at the James Webb telescope. So this is a requested topic and one that I hadn't even thought of, as far as looking at the cards. And the James Webb telescope, I've watched a bunch of videos on this thing. First, I'm a Star Trek guy, right? So I'm a huge fan of space anything. Um, and this thing, the James Webb Telescope, is a freaking marvel of technology. It's amazing. It's astonishing, and I've watched the videos a bunch of times on how they built it. It's just fucking mind-boggling, to be honest. So we're gonna take a look at this thing. First, we're gonna look at whether or not it's gonna freaking work, right? Because there are so many moving pieces, literally, that have to be so precise. And then the temperature has to be at a very specific place, and it has to orbit this one specific spot in the sky, um, like behind the Earth from the sun. And it always has to be like following that orbit. Anyway, lots of things. There's lots of things that could make this go wrong. So first we're just looking at whether or not the shit is actually going to work so it can start sending messages and, sending images and whatever data it collects. Okay. That is an interesting root card in the Eight of Cups. And the Eight of Cups is walking away, probably from old failures. Sorry about that glare there. The Eight of Cups is walking away from emotional baggage, and it probably is like finally leaving some old failures behind. Okay. Well, is it going to work? So the Five of Wands to me is saying that it will probably work, but there's like it's chaotic. The Five of Wands, it's a bunch of people fighting each other. What I'm really getting out of this is that there is probably going to be more interference. And here, I did sort of read up on this, or I didn't read shit. I fucking watch videos. But anyway, anything that emits infrared light, which is pretty much anything, can interfere with it. So here you've got the big moon in the background, and moonlight can actually interfere with it. But what I think this is showing is just a whole bunch of interference. So it might be more than they initially thought, or maybe the images are not going to be as clear as they were hoping because of the interference. So, now, this thing is very well set up to deal with a lot of problems, like on the fly. So we're going to put a card here just to see, like, maybe this is an initial stage, like there's so much interference, and then eventually... So we get the Ten of Pentacles, and the Ten of Pentacles is inheritance. So it's... What I'm thinking that the Ten of Pentacles is showing. This is the first tarot reading I've ever done for a telescope. Full disclosure. But so the Ten of Pentacles, this is an inheritance as far as wealth and castle and home, but it's also knowledge and wisdom. Like the grandparent is teaching the grandchild about life through this game of chess. So this would be a whole bunch of wisdom that can be passed down. So this is a really good sign for it. So early interference, and then eventually this is, just like the Hubble. When the Hubble went up, the first images were super blurry. And then eventually it gave us the real shit, right? Now, let's just look and see if there's any, like, paradigm shaking information that's going to come from this thing. Phew. What we get is the strength card. What I would think about that is maybe eventually, but that might not even happen in our lifetimes. You know, the strength card is about, like here, he's trying to prove his own strength to himself as he wrestles this fish monster, you know, and it's just about applying your will and like hanging on and keeping it going, like holding on. What I personally get out of this is that there is probably going to be some really earth-shaking stuff, but it might not happen right away. And now that I'm looking at it a little closer, I'm just also kind of focusing on this fish monster. So it's possible that the telescope could show us something about some other life, right? Earth Part Two. In this case, it's like filled with these fuckers. Um, but I don't think that's going to happen for a while. I think eventually there's going to be some earth shaking stuff, but probably not for a while. Um, let's just see if it's got anything else to say about the telescope. The Six of Wands, this is just about being acknowledged for all the good work. So it would show that probably the creators of the James Webb telescope are going to be properly appreciated. And this thing, honestly, it's a marvel. It's a marvel of technology, and it's an amazing thing. And the six is basically just showing the appreciation for all of the work and like transformation that has been done. So I wouldn't expect, first, I wouldn't expect any clear stuff out of it right away because of the interference, but eventually there will be. And I think eventually, once they start shooting it to the right spot, you know, or collecting data from the right part of the universe, there will probably be like earth shaking sort of data coming out of it. But that's what we get. Um, my first reading for a telescope. But if you have any questions about this or maybe angles of it that I didn't think of, and I'm sure there's a billion of those, feel free to leave those in the comments and we can look at it. But I'm a huge space fan, so I could do readings on space and like the James Webb telescope all day. But that's what we get, and peace.